good day, good evening, good night, wherever you're down in from. Appreciate you down in for another one of our videos. We are looking at session, I believe this is 13. 13 of this quarter, and this is the second part of Ruth. Ruth is a very short book, as we've already talked about, 4 chapters, it's to me, it's a pivotal point in history. It's a hinge in history of something much, much greater than what we're reading. And we look at this in the total book of the Bible, and we see where Ruth is a very important book. It not only is it a great love story, it also shows the plan God has, His love and His generosity for His people and those who obey Him, and it shows where God can use all of us for some reason or another. So, looking at that, that's what we're looking at here in that regard. Now, first question we look at: what has provided you a sense of hope when everything seemed out of control? I say my church family is a big part of that, where things have gotten kind of off the rails for me, and whether I be in the valley or in the dumps, or things are just not going well, I can always rely on my church to give me that boost, so to speak, that prayer that I need, that confidence I need, that fellowship that I need. Because we share the same faith. So it's easy for them to see, meet my needs in that regard, and hopefully I can meet their needs as well. So, but that is a good question to think about. All right, we got 3 parts. We're going to jump straight into this real quick and wrap up this quarter. All right, so we're looking at Ruth 3, 8 through 10. Future unclear. At midnight, Boaz was startled, turned over, and there lying at his feet was a woman. So he asked, "Who are you?" "I am Ruth, your servant," she replied. "Take me under your wing, for you are a family redeemer." Then he said, "May the Lord bless you, my daughter. You have shown more kindness now than before, because you have not pursued younger men, whether rich or poor." Okay, so let's see where things are going. As we saw last week, we saw where real quick, Naomi's heading back home. She has no money, no man, no inheritance, no land, and she's for the most part going back home to die, right? Orpha decided to stay in Moab. Ruth decided to go with her, stick with her through thick and thin, and she said, "Where you die, I die." And who your God is my God, that kind of stuff. And so she went back, and of course, over there in the community, and the widows are, the widows are, there on the sides of the field, and the harvesters, if anything is dropped, they cannot pick up, they leave alone, and the widows can go out there in the fields and pick up the leftovers. So it's kind of a safety net where the families take care of other families. Ruth got the attention of the harvesters and of Boaz, and he was really impressed with the work that she was doing. He put her under his control, under his protection, as we saw last week. Now, fast forward to this week. What we're seeing is this is not a situation where some people may think that her laying at his feet is provocative, and it's not. Okay. Naomi is giving Ruth instructions. Hey, there may be something to this, or maybe something for your future, something to your benefit, is pretty much what she's saying. And when she's saying, how do you go about do this? This is what you have to do. Now, when we look at this, we look at the notes on this. It was not a case of provocative for modern readers to think. It wasn't like she was trying to get in his bed or anything like that. He was probably spending a lot of time down there at the milling the crops and things. So it's common for the men to stay in the fields during harvest time to protect their bounty, to protect their crops from predators or other people coming in to try to steal. So it wasn't unusual for him to be there at that time of night on the threshing floor, sleeping with his crops. He may have been wore out and tired, grab some Z's, and then turn around in the morning and pick up the work. Because as we know, farming is a very difficult job, and it requires a lot of hours. So and what she was doing was, it was not suggestive or seductive. Ruth was demonstrating absolute submission, is what she was doing, laying at his feet and being submitting to Boaz because he was under her protection. She was not doing anything other than submitting herself completely to his, to his control and protection. So that's where that is. Now, look at what he was saying. I am your servant. Take me under your wing. You are a family redeemer. Well, what's a family redeemer? Okay, real quick. In this tradition, in this time, the families were responsible for one another, right? So in this case, Naomi and her husband left and went to Moab, and they come back, or Naomi came back, and she's able to be around her extended family. Okay, now a family redeemer. What is that? Well, if we look at the notes here, a redeemer has multiple responsibilities in addition to purchasing a family land that has been forfeit and restoring a relative that had been enslaved. Redeemers are expected to marry a childless widow and carry on the family. We see these rules in Leviticus and Deuteronomy. So basically what they're doing is they're keeping the families intact, even though one person may screw up. So if a father ends up in slavery, it could be the family redeemer, could be an uncle or something like that is willing to pay for them and get them out, those kind of things. So, and it also keeps the land in the families and a much larger picture would be to keep the property and land within the clan and the tribe, okay, because that's important as well. So a redeemer is a person who is a man who is in a position to protect his family as well as the extended family, but he's got to protect his first and then go from there. So these are appointed usually by their age and where they're at in stature and those kind of things, that they would be able to do that. Usually as a single man, as we saw in the last part here, a childless widow can take on the family name. So most times it's going to be a young man, the young unmarried man. That'd be the redeemer, right? So that's what she's looking at here. And what he's saying is, wow, you're pretty smart. And again, he says, bless you, Lord bless you, my daughter. You have shown more kindness than ever before, because you have not pursued younger men, whether you're rich or poor. So, she's not a teenager, but she's not old. But she's showing that she is submitting to the will and the control and the protection of Boaz. I think Boaz has shown that he is attracted to Ruth. Now, there's nothing to indicate that there's a physical attraction at this point, or nothing to say that there ever was a physical attraction. Boaz is really blown away, and he is highly surprised and loves the idea that Ruth is spending so much of her time, effort, and energy taking care of one of his family members, which is Naomi. And he is really impressed with this, and he loves what he sees in her. And there's something about this woman that Boaz finds amazing. Now, it may have been love at first sight. We really don't know, but that's not the case here. That's not really the focus of the story. The fact is, you have a Moabite woman that's going out of her way. She's doing more for his distant family member than most of his family. So and he is really impressed with her. And I would reckon to say, just in my mind, that there's probably an attraction. She is younger, not too young, but I think she is maybe middle aged. She probably is attractive, but what is attractive to him is the fact that she is hardworking, taking care. She's loyal, taking care of his family, all that stuff. And he just loves what he sees. She's a very striking and remarkable woman. Anyway, moving on. Question, here's a statement. When believers face times of uncertainty, we'll have to step out in faith. Yeah. So now Naomi's telling Ruth, this is what you need to do to get Boaz's attention. Right? So she tells him about the threshing floor, making herself available and uncovering his feet. It's kind of a traditional thing that he has to do. And of course, Ruth is listening to what Naomi is saying, because this is the practice of her people. And so, and she trusts Naomi in this fashion. Now, Naomi is not going to do anything wrong to Ruth, because Ruth is taking care of her. So, but again, now Boaz has every reason to kick her out of the threshing floor because it would look bad to see a single man and a woman alone in this place. So it's not a good look if they were to get caught. However, as you see, Ruth does not put herself in a position to be compromising either. So that's something to remember as well. So, but again, she's stepping out on that faith to see if he's willing to step up and be the redeemer and take her hand in marriage and to protect her. And by protecting her, he'll be protecting Naomi. All right, the second part, future secured. We're looking at Ruth chapter 3, 11 through 13. Now, don't be afraid, my daughter. I will do for you whatever you say, since all the people in my town know that you are a woman of noble character. Yes, it is true that I am a family redeemer, but there is a redeemer closer than I am. Stay here tonight, and in the morning, if he wants to redeem you, that's good. Let him redeem you. But if he doesn't want to redeem you, as the Lord lives, I will. Now lie down until morning. So one, he didn't chase her away, which is good. He didn't invite her next to him, and they didn't have relationships or relations that night. He pretty much told her, hey, if it works out, there's one that's, who has priority over me. I just can't go in and do be the redeemer for this family, my extended family. There's one other who's an older person than me. He takes priority over me, because the reason why you have, you may have a primary, secondary, a third, the tertiary, is because depending on who's available in regards to inheritance, land, and those kind of things. So there is a pecking order, I should say, in regards to this redeemer thing that we're talking about. So he's telling her, hey, look, there's one ahead of me, and if he chooses to take you on, great, you're taken care of. But if there's not, as the Lord is my witness, I will redeem you. So he's given her a promise. Now, the text does not indicate if Boaz is a physical attraction to her, like I said, but I think there may be something of that. Of course, her noble character shines through in this whole situation. Throughout this whole book, we see that Ruth is a very noble, generous, and hardworking individual. Boaz, I think, is really impressed with that. Enough said on that. So what had happened was, that's what has to happen was, there's always a closer relative to Elimelech, who was Naomi's husband, would have to be the redeemer first, because they would have first choice, and then it would fall to Boaz should that happen. So that is very important. And and I think the most important thing is Boaz didn't get her hopes up. He was very frank and open and told her the truth about her situation. And but at the end of the day, here's Ruth, who came from Moab, who lost her husband, still of a marrying age, and probably still able to have children, left her family and went with Naomi, who has nothing. For the most part, she was going home to die. And now she's in a win-win situation, right? She's proven her worth. And if the first family redeemer would not accept her in marriage, the second one would. So she was in a good spot, so to speak. Now we're looking at this in regards of possession and protection. And in our modern sensibilities, we don't quite understand that. We think love has something to do with that. Yeah, I get that, but you have to understand there's no safety nets, and women really had no voice. They were considered property, and Naomi and Ruth had zero property, zero inheritance. They had nothing but the clothes on their backs and the food that they could find. So it was a harsh reality. So, and Naomi knew that through Ruth, that she would probably find some security, which was very important. So, question: what might keep us from trusting God with our fears? Okay. What would keep us from trusting God with our fears? Wow, it could be a number of things. It could be that we saw that somebody else was in the same situation. It turned out badly. It could be that we're just actually it is. We're focused more on ourselves than than anything else. Um, we want to do everything on our own, and then when things fall apart, we run to God, right? So our greatest fears is something that we tend to harbor, and we tend to carry, and we tend to dwell on. And God is over here saying, "Hey, give it to me. I'll take care of it." That's a hard thing to do sometimes because it eats us up so much. The unknown, getting a job the next day, buying a new car, getting into college, and all those things. Your kid getting into college, your kid getting jobs, those kind of things. Everything. The unknown is medical is another one, right? Getting a biopsy and hope it's not cancer or those kind of things. Your health diminishing and failing. It's one of those things. What keeps us from giving it to God is because we're so much in a rut in our own lives that we think we can take care of ourselves. But and that's part of faith. Part of faith is letting go, is it not? That's a very important part of faith, and I learned that the hard way myself. So, all right, the last part, and then we're done. Future redeemed, Ruth chapter 4, 13, 17. So now, before we get into this, Boaz would go to the family, and he would sit there and talk to the elders and talk to the redeemer of the family. The redeemer of the family said, "No, I can't do that because that would put me in jeopardy of my other property." So he said he couldn't do it, but he gave Boaz his blessing. "Hey, you could do it. You can do it. Go right ahead." The elders in the meeting agreed that Boaz could do it. So Boaz said, "All right, I'll take care of it." So Boaz ended up being the redeemer for Ruth. Okay, so now we fast forward to this. Boaz took Ruth and she became his wife. He slept with her, and the Lord granted conception to her, and she gave birth to a son. The women named Naomi, "Blessed be the Lord. He has not left you without a family redeemer today. May his name become well known in Israel. He will renew your life and sustain you in your old age. Indeed, your daughter-in-law, who loves you and is better to you than 7 sons, has given birth to him." Naomi took the child, placed him on her lap, and became a mother to him. The neighbor women said, "A son has been born to Naomi," and they named him Obed, and he was the father of Jesse, the father of David. Of course, the lineage of David would lead to Jesus. Wow, amazing stuff. Reading this Future Redeemed, it kind of is such a feel good story. It seems like everybody was rooting for Ruth and Naomi. Everybody felt bad for them. Everybody was hoping for the best. You just needed a young man or a man to step forward to take control. And Ruth put her in a position to where that would happen. Boaz, I mean, if he's marrying the woman, obviously he was in love with her, right? And he immediately, they had a child together. So it worked out really good. Now, the thing that I like is the fact that the women were involved in the naming of the child, right? Not the parents. So what's that all about? It's an interesting twist, in my opinion. I think in time, I think this is one of those things where the community was so loved, and excuse me, they weren't. The community showed so much love towards Naomi and Ruth, and they really cared for these ladies and these women that they would be that involved in their lives and was truly blessed with these two women. How many times have we had people come into church that we are truly blessed to have them among us, that we love on them, we shower them with love? Little kids, a family with children, those kind of things. It's an awesome feeling. It really is. And I have a feeling that's what's going on here. Now look at this. We look at, what is here? Naomi took the child, placed him in a lap, and became a mother to him. Well, how did that happen? Well, you know how grandparents are. Grandparents love on those grandchildren, do they not? Naomi never had that chance to be a grandparent until this point. She lost both of her sons. She lost her husband. She had nothing to look forward to. If you remember, she wanted to be called bitter. She didn't want to be called Naomi when she arrived back home. So seeing this kind of this future redeemed is an awesome way to understand that, right? So she is a mother again. She's a grandparent, and she ain't gonna let that kid go. She's truly in love. She's blessed. I'm sure she changed her name back from Bitter to Naomi again. So very important. So it just shows where, Ruth took that leap of faith that Orpha would not take in regards to going back. What did she expect? Well, not much anything in my regard. I mean, it was a dead end going back with Naomi, but she trusted Naomi and she loved Naomi. And more importantly, she trusted Naomi's God. And look at the blessing it is. We can't talk about Ruth without mentioning Jesus, can we not? She is like, she's in that lineage along with Rahab. And just seeing the lineage of Jesus is a remarkable thing. So, very important. So this whole story and this whole thing, they became renowned and very famous. Well, I would say famous, but the story what we're talking about here is they became well known in Israel. Well, it's because of her character and who she is. And obviously, Israelites really appreciate someone who is loyal, independent, and willing to take care of her family. So Ruth became very well known and very much loved, in my opinion. So it's a very good book to go by. Last question. In what ways God's redemptive work change the way you live daily and give you confidence for the future? Wow. Well, every time I read the word and I read something like this, I read about Ruth, I read about Rahab, Rahab. So I read about it judges what we went through this quarter. I'm reminded daily of how God redeems people. I'm reminded that there's a place for me. Nothing was promised to Ruth. She was a Moabite woman. She was not a child of Israel. And but yes, she went out on faith. Did she not? She trusted Naomi's God. She trusted God to take care of her. And that's exactly what happened. Not only did God take care of her, but as we continue to see, God continues to bless more than we can imagine. With Rahab, she was blessed with living. She survived the attack of Jericho, but more importantly, she was integrated into the tribe and she would be part of the lineage for Jesus. Same thing here. Ruth was probably saying, if I could just get into if I can meet a nice man to take care of me and be married again and be happy, I would love that. But she ended up getting so much more, did she not? Not only was she got a great man in Boaz, but the neighborhood, the community gathered around, loved on her, loved on Naomi. Naomi was there to take care of their child, and more importantly, they would be part of the lineage of Jesus as well. So, just seeing some remarkable stuff. That just reminds me that God could do so much with me whenever I think that I am so little for Him. And that's the most important thing. All right, last points here to summarize. When believers face times of uncertainty, we'll have to step out in faith. Yes, that's what it's all about. If you knew everything and everything was by the book and everything went exactly as it wouldn't be called faith, would it? So it'd be just routine. We can turn to God with our fears and trust Him to respond. Yes, He can respond in many ways and many times throughout the circumstances in your life. We can assume God's continual care for us since He demonstrated it in His redemptive plan. Yes, if He's willing to sacrifice His Son for your salvation, He is willing to be there for you every single day. Wow. We don't understand. We cannot measure God's love towards us. We see it every day and we should pray for it every day. We should welcome it every day, even at the times we feel that we are unworthy. He's there waiting for us to turn around, acknowledge Him, and greet Him for the day. Okay? Thank you for watching as always. Appreciate you dialing in. This is our last session for this quarter. Next quarter, we are getting into Romans. I'm looking forward to getting in that with you as well. If you would like and subscribe to the channel, that way every time we post a video, you'll be notified when those videos are posted. And as always, you're welcome to come here to Webb Baptist Church and worship with us. We meet on Wednesday nights for supper and Bible study. And Sunday morning, we meet for Sunday school, going over these Bible studies here. And then we go into the sanctuary for our worship. And we'd love to have you here in part of all of that. If you can't make it to Webb Baptist, get plugged into a Bible-based church wherever you're at and see what God has in store for you. I guarantee you He will not disappoint. Okay? Till next time, take care. God bless.